Now, what are values and why do they matter in a company? Why does a company need to have stated values to establish your company culture? Well, you have your own values, right? As a business owner, you've got things that are important to you in terms of the behavior that you're expecting from those who work with you, the way that you want to interact with your clients, the particular ways that you want to serve them. So if you want to establish the kind of company culture that you hope to have, if you want to create the kind of business that you want to have with the kind of team that you want to have, and the way of treating your clients and interacting with your peers in the way that you want your company to do that, you need to get specific and clear on what those things are. And when we talk about values, it's worth noting that we're not talking about the morality that you expect from your employees or necessarily ethical things, although that may be part of it. We're really looking at what are the behaviors that you expect to see in your team members? What are the behaviors that you want to live up to in your business? How do you want your company to operate in terms of what you value? So getting really clear on that, getting really clear on what you value, what's important to you, what you want to see in your company, and then stating that, and then being congruent with that, not just coming up with a great philosophical idea that maybe you don't have any idea of how to actually enact or isn't true to who you are or what you actually value. Actually isn't helpful because if you state that great philosophical idea that maybe you heard somewhere or it's too vague, that actually doesn't help what you're going for with values. So you actually want values to be kind of specific, and you want them to be true to who you are, something you're actually going to be able to function within and actually be able to expect of your team and maintain with them as a value. Because if you have a particular value that you're not stating, but it's a high value for you and you're not communicating that to your team, then you can't expect from them to actually get in line with that value, right? Or if you have, you're stating that this is your value, but everybody's sensing that actually this thing over here is what you actually truly value. You're stating that this is what you value, but what they're experiencing from you is that you actually value this. It's going to cause this sense of incongruence. It's going to feel like you don't actually mean what you say. There's this other cultural thing that underlies the actual culture of the organization. When what you're saying is this, but what they're seeing is this, and when those things don't line up, that actually can cause cynicism, and it can cause people to not really buy into the values you actually have. So it's way better to just identify what you actually value as a business owner or a leader in your company, and then just state that explicitly, and have those things written out in your values so you can talk about those things, you can explain those things, you can train people in those things, and they can get used to whether they're going to be able to align with that or not. And you can find the right people that are going to be able to fit in with that, and you can manage and lead according to those values. So what are some good examples of values? Well, I can share a couple that we have here at TPM. We actually have 6 different values that we speak to when we have a new team member come on, or when we talk about these with our team. And we actually have these in a presentation that we give to our team on a regular basis, and we have these framed and hang them up on our wall. And a couple of them are, one, forgiveness before permission. So that's an example of a value for us. What we mean by that, forgiveness before permission, is that we actually have a value for a sort of ownership in our company where everybody on every level is taking ownership. And we would rather someone take a risk on something, making their best guess, than that they would go and seek permission every time that they want to try something or do something. If they have a great idea that they feel really good about, they think it's congruent with the company's vision and values, there's not any harm in trying it really, or any major harm in trying it, or it falls within their area of purview to try that. They've got the budget and the authority to try it. Then to let them try it. And if it fails, or if it wasn't quite what you were looking for, then they can ask permission, right? That's for us, that's one of our big values. And so we would rather people take risks, take ownership. If they make a mistake, apologize, we forgive quickly, we move on. That's better to us than that they would come to the person who supervises their work regularly asking for permission to try something. Another of our values is to find the way before escalating. And the counter to that is to value workload before delegating. And so what we mean by find the way before escalating, it kind of goes back to the forgiveness before permission thing, right? We really value finding a solution before just coming with a problem. Another way we talk about it is to bring solutions, not problems. And so don't just bring a problem to the person that you report to, but try to bring the solution that you propose at the very least, or just execute on that, and going back to the forgiveness over permission thing. And then likewise, from supervisors, we want to commit that we will value every team member's workload before we delegate. And so if we're just outsourcing our thinking, if we're just being lazy, it can go either way, right? So someone who is in more of a role of being supervised, they can be a little bit lazy and outsource their thinking, is how I like to talk about it. They can outsource their thinking to their supervisor and ask them, hey, how should I do this? When they could just go do a little research or go look at the conversation that was already had with the supervisor and find the answer to that, and that would be better. That's more according to our value system on that. Likewise, for someone who is in a supervisory capacity, we can be lazy at times, right? And we can outsource our thinking to someone that we supervise, and we can say, hey, I know we talked about this, but what is the answer? When we could just go back and find that email thread and find the answer for ourselves, or do a little research and find the answer for ourselves. And so both directions we really value, respecting each other's workload and time. And so we say find the way before escalating, value someone's workload before delegating. So those are a couple of examples of values. Those are a couple of ours at TaxProMarketer. You're going to have your own that are true to who you are and what you want for your business, but just get clear on those, identify them, speak to them, be clear on them, and keep them consistently before your team. And that's how you develop a culture around the values that you actually already hold as a person.